So here are 7 signs that you're going through a spiritual awakening process. And stick on till the end, because there's one sign which I will share with you. And after learning that, you will not feel like you're crazy anymore, that it's okay to experience this. So sign number 1 is identity crisis. Yes, you change as a person when you have the spiritual awakening process, because your old beliefs are shedding off and you're instilling new beliefs in your reality. So basically, you will find yourself not resonating with the things that you used to resonate with. The movies, the TV shows that you watched, the hobbies that you have, the friends that you hang out with, the food that you eat, you kind of find yourself that you're not really resonating with them. You kind of move away. And this is a process, like you are in this transition phase, because your old belief is here and you have your new belief, which are yet to come, yet to be permanently settled and cemented in your reality. But now you are in this middle being, you're in this transition state, and your old belief and your new belief are kind of fighting with each other. It's like a part of you is still attached there, because a part of you is still familiar with all the routines, all the things, all the friends, all that comfort zone of watching the same TV shows, movies, and consuming the same food. I mean, even for me, it was kind of very crazy, because I used to like cookies, all right? And suddenly I don't love cookies anymore. I went through this somatic breathwork ceremony where you take in deep breaths, and you let it out while music is playing in the background, and you do it 4 times. And each time you do it, like you let go of all the emotion and the stress and the trauma that your body has been holding on for such a long time. Because trauma and emotions are stored in the body. Consciously, you may try to forget it, but your body kind of stores the trauma. And this was a very powerful experience. I remember kind of screaming, kind of my whole body was shaking, and it was so tight at the first 2-3 breaths, but at the final breath, the final countdown, the final part of the session, I kind of let loose and broke free. And after that experience, I'm not the same anymore. I don't resonate with the things I used to resonate with. I don't like the things I used to like. I don't like the same food that I used to consume before. I don't like to hang around certain people who I used to call my best buddies. And these are the things, because you're changing your new belief system, you're raising your vibration, you're raising your consciousness, and things also shift at the same moment. And this time you have this identity crisis. You kind of feel lost, you kind of feel stuck, and that is completely normal. It is okay to feel that. And this is one of the signs that show that you are going into this path of spiritual awakening, that you are in this process of spiritual awakening. Now, sign number 2 is increased intuition, increased gut feel. You know that sensation, you have intuition, or you've always sensed that something's wrong before things went down. You kind of knew that this person, there's something off with that person. That person is not that trustable. The person is not that honest. But this was very minor. This feeling was not very major in your life. It's not very dominant. But when you're going through a spiritual awakening process, when you're in this journey of spiritual awakening, this becomes heightened. It's like it goes through the roof. You kind of sense every minor shift in energy. You kind of sense energy. You kind of sense like your intuitive abilities kind of open up. Like, as soon as you meet somebody new, like you don't even know them, you kind of know their intention. You kind of sense what they're feeling. It's like, I know this is not very, very logical when I try to put it into words, but it's absolutely true. It's like when you introduce your friend to your mom would know that if that friend is a true friend or a fake friend. Like, women have higher intuitive abilities than men. All right, but when you're going through a spiritual awakening process, it's like that on steroids, that 1,000 times more. Like, you can sense things. You can sense when something is wrong. You can sense the emotions of other people. Even your best friend would come up to you and say something, and you would immediately know if it's the truth or if it's a lie. Like, many instances, well, the person I used to, believe that is my best friend used to come up to me and say some things. And after going through the spiritual awakening process, I looked at that and I instantly knew that it was a lie. And this brings me on to the third sign, that is increased emotional sensitivity. So when you have all this intuition, right, and you start feeling everything, and then your emotional sensitivity, the range of emotions, like how sensitive you are to feeling and expressing these emotions increases. Even that goes through the damn roof. You experience happiness, you experience it completely. When you experience sadness, it goes completely, like you completely immerse yourself in that emotional spectrum, in that emotional frequency. It's like you experience both ends of the spectrum. Every emotion that you encounter in life, happiness, sadness, joy, anger, shame, like the intensity is like knocked off, dialed to 100. That's how it feels like. You experience every single thing feels so intense, and that kind of freaks you out. It's like, what the hell? Because you are not used to this. But as a kid, this was your natural state. As a kid, every kid kind of experiences all the emotions in a very intense way. It's like even grabbing a glass of hot water in it, like you have conditioned yourself, you have built up resistance to the pain, to the shock, so you can easily hold a glass of hot water, hot boiling water, and don't feel as much pain. But as a kid, a child, if a child just touches the glass with hot boiling water, kind of experiences that shock, pain, and it expresses it outside. So that was sensation, that was the emotional sensitivity that you kind of lost. Like you built up resistance to not only this, but also all kinds of emotion. You built up resistance to love, you kind of built up resistance to joy and happiness. You kind of built up resistance to even experiencing all the good things in life. And as you grow older, you fail to express the same amount of love, the same amount of joy for any other things that are bringing you all this joy, enlightenment, and happiness. You kind of fail to show true expression. So now, when you're going through the spiritual awakening process, it's like you're shedding off this layer of resistance, and you kind of open yourself into feeling, acting, and living more, and embracing all these raw emotions, and you feel them to the fullest. Now this brings me on to sign number 4, that is childlike wonder. Now this builds upon the third sign, that is increased emotional sensitivity. So when you have the increased emotional sensitivity, you kind of feel every emotion to the fullest. And so when you're happy, when you're exhibiting joy, when you're doing things that actually bring the spark in you, that bring you literal joy, happiness, and comfort, you kind of slip into the state of childlike wonder. You kind of feel like a child again. You kind of enjoy even the smallest of the smallest things in life. If you're happy, you're extremely happy, you kind of express it outside. You're going for a walk in a park, you catch sunsets, you feel so good. You see flowers blooming and you feel so good. Like recently, like suddenly the seasons are changing here where I'm living. Seasons are changing and flowers are starting to bloom. Like it's the start of spring. So spring starts, I think, in 10-15 days. And when I looked at these flowers, I felt so amazing. Like literally, I lost track of time. I was spending so much time just walking around the bushes and that garden and the plantations of flowers, and of capturing pictures of it, and it was so beautiful. And yes, this is what I call childlike wonder. It can be something very silly as this. It can be something very small. It doesn't have to be some huge achievement like you going and exploring Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter, and then bringing water from Neptune back into Earth and kind of turning that into drinking water. It doesn't have to be so complicated. It can be so, simple and easy as even looking at flowers. Like you unlock the state of childlike wonder. And this is one of the signs that you're actually going through the process of spiritual awakening. Like if all your emotions kind of are tuned up, your sensitivity increases and you break down the resistance, it'll be much more easier for you to feel everything to the fullest. And when you feel everything to the fullest and actually express all the positive emotions or the higher vibrational emotions, kind of express them, you unlock the state of childlike wonder. Now that brings me on to sign number 5, and that is sudden zone-ins and zone-outs. So zone-ins and zone-outs. So I kind of coined this phrase here. What does it mean? You'll find yourself suddenly zoning in on some task and losing track of time. Like suddenly, like you won't really expect you to zone in at that particular task, and you will find yourself zoning out and not having any interest in some other tasks or in some other activities. Especially, this makes more sense when you start losing interest in the things which you're actually interested in, like you're zoning out, you're not really feeling like putting any effort into it. And then you're zoning in and completely new on things that are completely new. Like it doesn't make sense. Like this happens because as a kid, when you have this childlike wonder, you found yourself kind of exploring different things. It didn't matter. You never thought about what anybody's going to say. You never thought about what society is going to say. It's like you were moving from one thing to another. You were so curious. You were so, happy, joyful. You were so, excited to explore new opportunities, new things. And whichever task brought you a lot of joy, happiness, or sparked that interest in you, you kind of zoned in and you had this amazing focus. And then whichever task didn't get you excited, didn't spark that passion inside you, you kind of zoned out. So that's kind of a similar experience that kind of played out. Now I'm sharing this from my perspective. It doesn't necessarily have to be the complete definitive experience that you must experience or go through while you are going through a spiritual awakening process. These are not the rules which I'm laying out like you must follow them, you must go through these rules, or else you're not going through a spiritual awakening process. I'm not saying that you must go follow all these rules. These are just my experiences. Like these are my experiences, and I don't necessarily, mean for you to follow every single one of them. You will have a completely different set of experiences. I'm just here sharing my experiences so that if you kind of resonate with this, kind of if you had similar experiences like this, comment down below. I would like to talk more about this. And that brings me on to sign number 6. That is weird schedules. When I say weird schedule, I'm saying weird sleep schedule, weird, working schedule, weird food schedule. Suddenly you'll find like you're going to sleep and you're not really sleeping. You'll be awake at 1 a.m., 3 a.m. You're not really sleeping. I mean, you'd have done so many tasks in that day and you're not sleeping. And you start falling asleep in weird timings, odd timings. Like 3 p.m. in the afternoon, suddenly sleep will hit you. Like, I want to sleep right now. And sometimes, like, you'll sleep for 3 hours. And you wake up and you don't need to sleep anymore. Suddenly you will sleep for 14 hours and you wake up and you're still tired. Sometimes you sleep for 6 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours. Like, I don't need sleep anymore. You're completely energized. And suddenly you'll go skipping 2 meals. You won't have food. Like, you won't have breakfast, you won't have lunch. You're not that hungry. And some days you will have 5 meals a day. And still, like, you'll go on this binge eating cycle. And you'll feel like you're still hungry. You feel like your body needs more food. And it's so weird. Like, this is one of the experiences which I went through. Like, I got this weird sleep cycles. And it's not really consistent. Like, one day I would sleep at 9, wake up the next day morning at 4. The other day I'll sleep at morning 2, wake up at morning 11, 12. I'll sleep at evening at 6 p.m. I'll sleep at 6 p.m., wake up at 2 a.m. I'll sleep at 3 p.m., wake up at 9 p.m. I had this odd sleeping schedule and even eating schedule, and that kind of balanced it out, and that kind of faded away. But I had that going on for 2 or 3 weeks. Like, that was the duration through which this happened, and this was right after my somatic breathwork ceremony. After I experienced a somatic breathwork release, these are the experiences that kind of came up. And when I went back and I contacted, one of my gurus that kind of taught me this, and he mentioned that it is normal. It happens. It's like your body is transitioning to this whole new state. It's kind of like a spiritual awakening process. And then it hit me. Like, I documented, I kind of wrote down like what I was experiencing, and I'm sharing it with you, sharing it with the world, because I know there's so many people like me who went through a spiritual awakening process and kind of felt lost, kind of freaked out, didn't know what the hell was happening, because I was panicking. I was in panic mode 24/7. And then only when I spoke to my instructor, my mentor, I kind of calmed down. every part, every cell in my body was in a state of panic. Like, what the hell is going on? At one moment, I thought my body is about to explode. Literally, I felt like a ticking bomb. I thought I was going to explode. Only when I spoke to to my mentor, kind of calmed me down. It's like, okay, this is normal. This is okay. I'm transitioning from my old self to my new self. This is spiritual awakening, and it's meant to not make sense. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense here. You just have to stick on, hold on, and pull through. And again, when you are in this transition stage, you have your old self and your new self. You still have a choice to go back to your old self, or you want to continue and transform into your new self. But going back to your old self again sounded more comfortable and sounded very familiar. Obviously, a part of me wanted to gravitate towards that. But I know that if I transform into this new higher version of myself, I would completely be a new person, kind of evolve. The whole point of evolution, of humanity, of every living being in this planet is to evolve. So only when you go through the toughest of the transformation, only when you go through this transformation stage, you evolve into a better being. So that was a ideology that I had, and that inspired me to keep going on in this path. Now that brings me on to sign number 7, and that is weird flashes, visions, and dreams. So when you are going through the spiritual awakening process, you've gone through all these signs which are listed here in this video, and then you'll find yourself, if you're sticking on more, and this is towards the end, sometimes you'll experience this even at the very beginning, you will start getting weird flashes, weird visions and dreams. Suddenly, like, you'll be going on about your daily routine, daily tasks, everything is normal. Suddenly you'll hear some conversations like suddenly come up. And this is not the same as every other time. Suddenly you'll feel like in your heart, your intuition, your gut feeling will tell, no, this is something weird. We have not experienced this before. Obviously, it's a conversation that we had to someone else, and now it's come up to the surface, and it doesn't feel like the previous time. It kind of feels different, and you'll have these weird visions. Like before you go start a task, start a project, even go start talking to somebody, you'll have this vision. And sometimes it kind of feels like it's the vision from the future. Sometimes it feels like the vision from the past. Or sometimes it feels like the vision that's going to happen a moment or two from now. It's very weird. Even me trying to explain it, it's very weird. It's a weird feeling. You kind of have these movie-like cinematic storylines play out in your head, and it feels so real. And then I told you about the intuitive part. And you kind of unlock, like, what's going to happen like 2 seconds from now. Like your reactivity also increases, the sensitivity to reactivity, like how the situation is going to turn out. Like you kind of know, and you have this weird flashes, weird visions. You start seeing energy lines. Like when you go meet people, you kind of see the energy off of them. You kind of know, like, they're not feeling well, even though they're putting on this front. You kind of start seeing colors. I know I sound slightly crazy, but this is very true. You kind of see colors, you kind of see their energy field popping off of them, you kind of feel their energy spectrum, you kind of sense it, and then you start having weird dreams. And dreaming in itself is weird. All the dreams that you've had till now are weird, but now this is a very different feeling. It's a completely different feeling. It kind of feels different on the inside. And that's why I say, like, it's your intuition kind of paired up with your logical mind. It's like a connection that happens between the heart and the mind. And whenever you're dreaming, these dreams become more intense, like very intense dreams, kind of feel very real, and kind of correlate with a real life situation that is about to happen or just already happened. It kind of gives you a solution of how you could have treated them before, if any past situation arises in your mind, or it kind of gives you a knowledge of kind of solution how you can tackle a situation that is about to happen. Guys, I know this sounds very crazy, very woo-woo, but this is completely true. Now that covers all the 7 signs, but we are missing one sign, and that is a bonus sign. And now this sign sounds the most craziest of all. This sign shows that you are actually going through the spiritual awakening process, and it sounds very crazy. Many people will call you names and words because you go and tell this to them, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And now sign number, the bonus sign is you start seeing angel numbers, and all these synchronicities, you start seeing them. And it's not just seeing these numbers and like, yeah, have focus on it's like, something on the inside, you kind of feel it. It's like, no, this means something more. And if you see these angel numbers, and like you would have seen these angel numbers all throughout your life. And a part of it is like, when people tell, if you want to buy a red car, suddenly you will start seeing red car in the streets. It's not that only when you decided to buy a red car, people started manufacturing more red cars and releasing it in the streets and put back all the cars in the back inside the factory. No, it's like you unlocked vision and now you start seeing more red cars. I'm not saying about that logic, but when you see these angel numbers, it's not just you're seeing these numbers because you know that you're expecting it to see angel numbers. You're expecting to see these synchronicities and you're trying to actively look out for them. I'm not saying that. What I mean is when you see these angel numbers, your gut feeling, your intuition knows that they mean something. It's not simply that you're seeing them. It kind of means something. And then you Google it, like, what do these angel numbers mean? What do these synchronicities mean? Kind of Google it, kind of do some weird research, in-depth research. People may call it weird, but no, it's not at all weird. It's normal. And continuously seeing these angel numbers, and each of these numbers hold a different meaning. They hold a different key that connects to the spirituality spectrum. Now there's a whole range of spirituality spectrum and knowledge that you can learn upon. And when you see these synchronicities and these angel numbers, each one of them correlate to some pattern. Each one of them are different from each other. You start researching them, and you know deep down inside that this holds some meaning. This holds. It's not that you're just seeing them. And that, my friend, and that is how you know that you're going through a spiritual awakening process. And that is how these are 7 signs that show you that you are going through the spiritual awakening journey. And some of it may be very weird experiences. You may feel like you're going crazy. You may feel like you're going insane. You may feel like none of this makes sense. You'll feel so lost because you are in that transition phase from your old self to your new self. And being there, it's like you have all the power. You can choose to go back to your old self or hold on and transform into this completely new being. It's all in your power. And you have to make the choice. Do you want to go back to your old self or stick on and evolve as this new being? It's all in your hands.